I'm late again. Sorry. Life is a little bit busy at the moment. Anyway, this is reading challenge number 31. Hello and welcome. And today we're going to be talking about the Slynx. Now, I can't even pretend to have read enough Russian literature to know the extent to which this book satirizes it. But I am aware that it is somewhat of a satire of Russian literature in general. By a Russian, Tatyana Tolstaya is indeed a Russian, and this was translated by Jamie Gambrell. And it is a story of a guy called Benedict who lives in a Russia that exists after what's called the Blast has ruined everything, pretty much. It's destroyed all civilization. But there is a guy in Benedict's village who is sort of like their leader. This guy, Fyodor Kuzmich, glory be, because they always say Fyodor Kuzmich, glory be, sort of writes a lot of amazing stuff. And in the book, Benedict, there's lots of jobs you can have in Benedict's village, and one of them is like a copier. I can't remember if that's the exact word that's used, but it's someone who copies out Fyodor Kuzmich's amazing stories and poems and stuff so everyone in the village can read them. I won't go into what's happening too deeply, but I think it's kind of obvious from early on in the book that Fyodor Kuzmich's amazing creativity is not quite what it seems, and Benedict is sort of like an everyman who wants more for himself. He is in love with this woman who works in the same place he does, and he's just sort of striving for a better life, and that's kind of part of the mockery of it, that he's striving for a better life and eventually gets there, but it's not quite what he imagines it to be. It's not quite what he envisages. And there are this wonderful group of oldsters who survived the blast, who have lived for a very long time. When the blast happened, they look how they looked at that point. And they have like special powers. One of them, Nikita Ivanich, he's like the town fire master. He makes the fire because no one can make fire. This old guy can make fire, and the way he makes it is amazing. It's to do with his blast powers. It's the most wonderful, meaty, amusing sort of satire, and even if you don't know much about Russian literature, it's just really thoroughly enjoyable and clever. It's completely bonkers, but it makes perfect sense within its own universe. It has absolute internal logic. Even the ending has absolute internal logic and is kind of like a bundled metaphor within all the metaphors. So that's basically what it is. It's a satire bundled up in metaphors, and I loved it. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I love everything weird. And of course the titular Slynx, that is a creature that comes up and gnaws at your neck, and there's some kind of existential dread about that, which I really loved. Like I said, I've not read enough Russian literature to give like a complex context for everything in the book, and a lot of it's relatable too anyway, because you know the world we live in is ridiculous, and this kind of thoroughly sends up the ridiculousness of the world we all live in. And it might be sending up Russian literature at the same time, but the fact that it's sending up modern culture is perfectly clear, you know. So I loved it. I would thoroughly recommend it if you like your books a little bit strange but absolutely killer clever and funny. Read it, you will not regret it. There's that. Okay, so next week I am going to be talking about A Little Life by Hannah Yanagihara, and that's mainly because it's a really long book. It's like 700 odd pages, and I read it in August and it blew my mind, and I kind of want to talk about it before it goes out of my head, because I have the most horrific memory in all of history, and it's difficult for me because I'm getting so far ahead of myself now. I'm actually forgetting a lot about the books that I wanted to say when I first finished reading them. So I'm going to talk about A Little Life next Friday. Hope you join me for that. Thank you for watching today. Bye.